All right, very good. So just quick introduction, Natalie Vinitsky. I've done many things in my career, in starting with uh, being an accountant and then being in marketing, and then during dot-com boom, switching to technology, being a system analyst, business analyst, project manager, and transitioning over to Agile back in 2005, 2006, and never looking back since. Done all kinds of roles within that space, including agile coaching and then transformation. Some of you here who've been with me through all kinds of experiences and journeys. And so right now I'm working at Citi and still doing agile transformation, but not just that. I have a couple other roles as well. And thank you, Gary, for inviting me today to talk about agile. And when I was thinking about which topic to cover, what came across on LinkedIn and grabbed my attention, and you can see an article in our chat, is what's happening in the agile space. I saw a lot of things about in controversy. Is agile dead? Is it still alive? I was still adopting. I was still using. I was still on this curve of going up through adoption, or we kind of maturing and it's becoming a BAU. So I looked through articles and maybe we can chat about it. It's an interactive session. I don't have slides, but I'd like to share my observations and perhaps hear some of yours. So just for me to orient myself, we'll do a bit of a interactive exercising. In the chat room, if you could please put in, when did you first time get exposure to Agile, whether through your role becoming more of an Agile Scrum Master, product owner, coach, expert? When did it happen? How many years ago? Just curious. Okay, 2006, 2001, 16, 10, 15, 12, 5, 10 years ago, 1999. That's around 2000. Okay, thank you very much. So we can see the earliest adopters, I would say, or people who dived into the space in around 2000 all the way to 2018. So what happened in that space? Early on, it was a cool thing. Not a lot of people knew, but it was sold as, if we switch to Agile, we're going to accelerate, we're going to deliver what the customer wants, we're going to reduce bureaucracy, we're going to become simple, nimble, and the life is going to be beautiful, and the culture is going to be awesome, and we're going to have those teams working together. And so to get to that, we would need to bring some experts who can help us transition and transform on this journey. And the culture at that time was quite interesting because this space was quite small. Finding an agile coach was not easy. There were very limited people who actually had some exposure to that. And it was very modern and cool to be there. So fast forwarding to perhaps today, the environment is slightly different. And if you think about those customers who of this transformation, predominantly those were companies who've been early adopters of technology. A lot of them were financial institutions who had a lot of legacy code that had to be rewritten, redone, or new products being built, or you had to pay quite sizable technical debt. And so if we look in what happened in the past 24, 20 years, I'm curious to see from your experience and your perspective, were those companies able to accomplish those goals? So you can put yes, no, maybe, no. Anyone else? No, partially. Yes, yes. Oh, kind of. Okay. Okay, somewhat partially. All right. Okay. Thank you for that. Thank you for sharing. So some of you said no, and the reasons for that. Some of you said partially, but some of you also mentioned that it's successful. So from my perspective, it is probably partially. And in my observation, in addition to in the beginning, the space being honest and earnest and kind of camaraderie, right now this space became very much industry, right? So we have a lot of different types of methodologies, and people are trying to, and nothing wrong with that, make money off of it. And that I think sometimes because of it, the principles and the basics of it got forgotten, and some of the elements of success got forgotten with that as well. And because right now there is a lot of saturation of agile experts, of methodologies, of companies selling those type of services, and the customer sometimes gets confused and lost, and what is it they need, and how is it different, and which one to adopt, and what benefits is it going to bring. The other part I'm observing, and feel free to disagree in chat, is that because the industry has grown so much, and I'm talking about the agile industry in the past 20 years, and there are so many different types of experts, and those experts come from different backgrounds, some of them project management, some of them technology, software delivery. It seems that the most important ingredient in my view, which is the business side and the product owner, is kind of not the focus when we coach and when we transition and when we transform. So if the focus is on technology, if the focus on Scrum Masters, without the focus on the business, we miss the boat. Because ultimately the result of successful agile implementation is the adoption of new ways of working, the adoption of the technology. And if we are just doing agile for the sake of agile, is it successful? There needs to be some benefit. So in my early career, I was focused on transformation to agile and technology side. And in the past 3-5 years, I pivoted to focus on the business. So what if we start transformation instead of technology on the business side? Would that be more successful? And so if anyone had experience of doing that, please put in the chat. I would love to see some of your perspectives. But in my view, I have some discoveries. And the most recent discovery is, even if we start transformation on the business side, we still need to bring technology along the way and get an agreement with them that they're ready to do the same. And if we start to do this on technology, on the business side, it would be great to work with the business and educate them on what it means transform and transition and what it means determine what you need and what are your goals and objectives and how you're going to measure them and what is it you truly want, because I'm learning that we can coach people to write great news stories, but what I'm finding out is it's not what they want or what they need because they have difficulty verbalizing it or envisioning it. So those are my observations. And I would be curious to see in the chat, why is this topic, well, obviously you're attending, and then this topic must have interested you. So why was it interesting to you? Well, why where Agile is today in terms of whether it's dead or alive, why was it interesting to you? I see, yeah, Damon, it's hard to do. And the reason the Agile transformation and it's hard to do is because it's all about people and changing people's minds and winning their hearts as hard as it is. But overcoming politics in corporate world is also very hard. And I remember a conversation I had with one of the executives that if you remove politics from corporate world, do we truly need Agile? And it will be just, it will be beautiful, it would be wonderful. And the response was kind of interesting. It's part of human nature. You can't forego politics. It's part of who we are as human beings, whether it's in life, with friends, in corporate world, it exists. And so I never thought of it this way, but I tend to agree with that. So safe is still lots of pushback on company jumping to safe. Okay, I see. So the other part why it seems there are more and more articles about Agile kind of going away and not being so popular anymore is mostly the focus of transformations, and you may disagree with that, is in companies that do need to transform from the legacy applications and have been in place for 50, 60, 100, 200 years. But what about the new startups, the new companies? Would they be just agile or nimble and simple just because they're new and they don't have inherited legacy? And do they need agile experts? And in some responses I saw, people would say, well, somewhat successful transformation we've observed in the past 5-10 years, some not. And if that is the case, and the business invests a lot of money into agile experts and transformations with agile experts, and they don't see the results they expect, the money would dry out. And that's what we're seeing today. It seems that the span of attention at the executive level is quite short. And if you cannot demonstrate results quickly enough, you lose their attention, you lose the executive and the leadership commitment to change. And in order to have a successful transformation, you need them. It can be done just through grassroots. It can't be done just through certifications. You need those executives to stand behind you and solve all of the organizational shortcomings and impediments in order to make it successful. And if they are not there at the table and not doing their job, the results are not going to be there, whether it's 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 years. And it is challenging for them because some of those companies, public companies, and they need to demonstrate results, and that's their primary focus. And if we cannot make a significant impact, those executives will disappear and new executives will show up. And then you need to convince new executives that agile transformation works if you pay attention and help and be engaged, and B, it does take time. It doesn't happen overnight. Okay, so I see some feedback. Yeah, deliver value early, many different mindset shifts then, yeah. And so what struck me is determining that value is not easy on the business side. Defining your OKRs and even explaining what that means is not easy. And measuring is not easy overall. And that is the struggle, trying to explain to up echelon that incrementally we see these business outcomes. And that's why we should continue to invest and continue on this transformation path. And so if the business is not able to do so, that's not helping. If the technology is not able to demonstrate ability to pivot and change through DevOps and some other good practices, that's not helping either. And also, again, the bottom line, driving the cost down. A lot of times executives jump to conclusion that it's easier to go into show of locations or hire consultants or some other methods to improve the bottom line versus the transformative and new ways of working. All right. So I'm just interested in your points of view. So what do you think? And if you can put that in the chat, what's next in the Agile world? What would help to make it work?
Yeah, I'm reading a couple themes. I think I'm determining a couple themes, Natalie, of how does one attribute those OKRs back to Agile versus waterfall, for example, or to your digital transformation with Agile versus without it, to leadership, it's like a moving target sometimes, right?
Yeah. Well, I know that some companies, to prove the case, they did experiments and they would contrast and compare two initiatives, one waterfall, the other agile, and you see and measure OKRs and you contrast and compare and see which one is better. By the way, a bit of history. Ira is probably going to smile right now. So if we think about where waterfall came, I know I have a lot of experts, but this is the story that I usually tell in my space. The Industrial Revolution actually happened a long time ago, and factories and steam engine and all of that technology at that time brought in factories and plants, and people moved in cities from villages to work in those, and those people were not educated and they required strong leadership. And so in manufacturing setting, there were flow managers that would establish and express command and control, if you will, style of management to make sure that people who work in those factories know what they're doing and don't hurt themselves. And so the conveyor belt and the manufacturing process was put in place. And then we have Winston Royce, who put together a paper on waterfall methodology because he saw a gap, fast forward from industrial age to computer age, which started with some around NASA times. And if you remember that wonderful movie, Hidden Figures. So he saw an opportunity that there were managers who didn't know what to do with coders, programmers, those guys with long hair and flip-flops walking around, super smart. And then managers like, what am I paying them for? How do I know they're productive? How do I know they're adding value? So the opportunity came along. He put a paper together, and then he realized that there was a major flaw. And so we're curious to see if people know what that flaw was. And it was the difference between the type of job and the type of people that were in manufacturing in early ages versus now. Those people are not educated. These people are educated. In factory setting, the process is highly predictive, and in the computer engineering world, it's highly creative. And I'm sure we have a number of programmers and coders and engineers here today. And if I ask them to write a program on how to, I don't know, quickly find, we have Olympic Games going on, a particular sport, I'm sure that however they use this app will be different between one person versus another. And so the principles are different, and applicability of waterfall to software engineering was not the best approach. He even realized that, but it was too late because managers found it quite refreshing and kind of false positive, giving them assurance of something that's highly unpredictable. And since then, we have it. Plus, it's human nature. We like to be in control. We like to know what's going to happen tomorrow. We feel more comfortable and confident with that approach. So I'm not sure if it's ever going to go away and if Agile will completely transform everything, although that's would be wonderful. But definitely at this point in time, at least through LinkedIn and articles and Medium and some other places, and even reports, we see that it's not going up in terms of adoption, popularity, and there are more and more pragmatism around it. And in my particular view, it's attributed to the past 20 years of experience, history, where we are today, successes and failures, and Agile becoming this $8-10 billion industry. So all of it is combined impacting where we are today. All right, any questions?
Sounds like we need one big retrospective party.
I think I don't, we have, well, 46 people. I think we still have, people have questions, they talk. I'm okay if the mute button is removed and to hear voices.
Yeah,
Did
feel
I
free.
hear somebody say party? We're having what? What was?
I was joking that the industry needs one big retrospective, Agile retrospective party. Sorry, I got echo.
think that's a great idea, actually. Maybe Agile 2024 should consider that one big retrospective party.
It kind of was.
It was okay.
Yep. There was a, a keynote on reimagining Agile, and they had some panels on basically on that, and that's the only thing anybody was talking about.
Oh, I didn't even realize that. Wow. So there is a sense in overall, not just my sense, but and so what you're saying is it is a concern across the board. And the other part, if you think about it, we've been coaching organizations and um, supporting career transitions, project manager to scrum master to coach, and people on the business side, subject matter experts to product owners. So again, we have about 20, 15 years of that. So how much more transition would happen? Yeah, and I'm curious to hear, Damon, what were some of the ideas in terms of reimagining?
Well, I don't know about reimagining. I'm a little pessimistic on that myself, but I think a lot of people are pivoting, right? So, for instance, moving to product, product's not going to go away anytime soon, and having people that understand Agile are going to do very well in product. So that was one trend. Um, Finding other ways to describe what we're doing, because let's face it, most organizations are not agile like we dream of, and so they still need the value. And so I can sell that value to somebody individually, one-on-one, as can you, as others here. I think the issue is agile was a big wind in all of our sales, but that wind seems to be dying down. Right, so it's hard to get those conversations. So yeah, I don't know. There wasn't anything that really stood out as like, oh my God, that's the solution. It was really just kind of, at least now we're talking about it.
Come on, Damon. We were expecting you to have like the silver bullet.
Oh, okay. Well, for a fee.
Here you go. I told you it's an industry. But Damon, actually, what you said resonates with me quite a lot. And this is what I'm doing to overcome this. So, as I mentioned, part of multiple hats I'm wearing, multiple jobs I'm doing, is agile transformation for risk organization within Citi. At the same time, I do have two other roles. And I think what I'm actually myself pivoting towards to is it doesn't matter what I do, whether I'm a portfolio lead, whether I'm Gen AI and Innovation Center solution lead, or whatever it is I do. The way I do it, and there's nothing I can do with this, I'm doing it using Agile, right? And so I build teams. We work as Agile teams, whatever portfolio work we do, without technology components, with technology components. It's just, the everyday life. And what I've observed is other groups, teams looking at it, and they want the same. They come to me and say, oh, this is interesting. Oh, we would like to do the same. And so what I've learned is we can do that, but without calling it agile, because at this point in time, for whatever reason, some people who come and I talk to from other companies and other places where it wasn't implemented well, where it was maybe done as a checkbox on paper, with a lot of politics, the nice wrapper said agile, but internally it was a nightmare. And so with that kind of experience, people don't want to hear the word ever again. And they don't know what agile should be, that all they know is that part, they don't want. And so it's unfortunate, but I found that without calling it agile, but executing in that way, doing it that way, it adds value and it takes off that negativity and that negative memory and experience. So similar to what you were saying, people moving to products, I think we can continue the same, but reimagining, rebranding, renaming, perhaps. And from agile coaching perspective, I've had experience working with people that very much process oriented and methodical, and in some cases they would take Scrum guide and it's like project plan. Have we done this? Have we done this? Have we done this? Without leveraging kind of this social IQ and understanding where this team or organization, their journey, and are they ready for all of this? Are they ready for a little bit of this over a period of time? And because as human beings, we don't like change. It's our nature. It's hard for us to change. And most of us, not all of us. And especially if executives don't give proper incentives, so need to be patient and pragmatic. That's kind of where I am at, is we can still do it. We can still impact industries and can still benefit from it, just pivoting in a slightly different approach. And instead of selling agile, focus on value, on outcomes, and maybe use different words and be flexible, not so much disoriented. And I know some people know that's doing versus being type of thing, but definitely being is more important. All right. So I see in the chat the principles of Agile, and I saw some posting safe topic. Safe is safe. So even safe goes back to the principles and suggests for companies to leverage and learn how to do the basics of Scrum before they scale up. And because of those unsuccessful transformations, because executives being sold safe, where they promise a holistic transformation, very quick, put it on scaled safe rails, but what comes through is boiling the ocean and building a country in the world in 3 days and safe, and none of us are gods. And so they find themselves kind of in the pickle because they were promised and they trusted and invested, and more often than not they don't see results and they try to cover it up, and then no benefits found. And then we end up rebranding, as we say, yeah, under new management.
I think I have the solution for the staleness, perhaps, or the of the term. How about you can't have AI without Agile, or no, you can't have, yeah. There's an AI in Agile, so you got to get the you get the AI in there, and then we'll all be good again.
Yeah, you brought up something really cool, and I was gonna talk a little bit about that. But before AI, so one other thing I considered is the past 3 years, maybe more, 4 years, we all were impacted by COVID. right? When did COVID start? Back in 2019
2020.
or 2020? 2020, right? And so we're in 24. It's been 4 years since that. But in my mind, that also had an impact on our industry, because a lot of what we do and what makes it work and successful has to do with human nature, has to do with building culture, has to do with better interaction, transparency, trust. And remember, in those days, teams were supposed to be co-located, we were supposed to hang out after work as a team, and all of that with COVID disappeared. And no longer we have the floors with agile teams, and there is a buzz, and we have stand-ups, and we feel energy, we feed energy off of each other. All of that is gone. And to me, yeah, we've proven the case that if need to be, we can do it virtually. But that whole human side of things got lost. And it's much, much, much harder to do it virtually. And we're still in this virtual universe. I mean, when I go to the office, and I don't know if you have the same observations, but even in the office, people consumed by Zooms, and they may sit on those Zooms all day long without even talking to each other. So they're still in that virtual world. And I think that's part of the impact as well. And that will take time for all of us to come out of it. And I know there's a whole different discussion on the topic of remote versus in person and so forth and so on. But to me, as human beings, we are impacted by that. I recently saw a documentary, and the research was done on what makes us live longer. And there were 3 things identified for us. And one of them was being surrounded by people and interacting and not being lonely. So, but I digress. So, question to all of you. What do you think will happen with AI more and more impacting our lives? And whether it's co-pilot or some other pilot, where do you think we're going? I'm just curious to see your thoughts. If you could please put in chat. Yeah, hallucinations. People can have hallucinations too. So, not much, unless I'm not seeing it. Still work in progress. Yeah, good until it's capable of any of us. The story writing skills will be valuable. I'm still assessing. All right, very good. So user story writing skills. All right, so okay, let's say we have an AI to write them, but what about? How would it know what to write about? Where would the vision come from? Would it come from AI, or would it come from a human being? By the way, on that note, what I found tremendously helpful, sometimes along learnings of different aspects of transformation, I was exposed to this technique called design thinking. And what I found quite fascinating, which I resisted initially, but then I appreciated it. A lot of times on the business side, those people who've been delegated, nominated to be product owners, they themselves struggle with figuring out what is the need, what's needed. And actually to determine the need and what is needed, there is a whole industry in that. You have to do research. You have to truly understand the current pain points. You have to look at where it is end to end versus in silos or pieces of the process. You have to get alignment from different stakeholders. You need to bring them together so they are not fighting with each other, and build that future state. And once you do all of that, which is part of the technique of design thinking, you will generate.
Sorry.
You will generate that backlog, prioritize backlog, and that's when probably you can use AI to write really good user stories. That's my view. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like we've used algorithms. AI is just another way really to automate, right? It's more robust, right? Form of automation is the way I look at it. And so we've had algorithms that can quote unquote prioritize the backlog, right? And it's always been a disaster in my experience. I mean, it's helpful. It's just I use it as another data point. Like, okay, that's what the algorithm says as another input, right? But the thing that when it comes to doing the actual work, right, interfacing with the actual teams and what the work is to do and what isn't to do, that important juxtaposition there. I don't see where AI is going to have the knowledge to tell the teams what not to do. And that's the most crucial thing, what not to do as they get into the work, what not to do. Oh, Maggie, we've discovered these 5 other bugs, what not to do, right? That is such an important part of prioritizing within the sprint as work is being done and delivered. What do you think?
Yeah. And again, it depends on how mature companies are. If those companies really interested in advancing their technology, for example, I know in some spaces they leverage AI to refactor their code and to rewrite their code from old technology to new. And in some other cases, they building those DevOps pipelines with test automation. So to optimize and accelerate delivery, and that is also a possibility in this space. What about Scrum Masters? Can AI replace all of a Scrum Master? Can AI bring this discipline and be honest? Because a lot of times I see Scrum Masters, depending where they sit within structures and organizations, they sometimes don't feel comfortable to stand up to management and say, no, you shall not do that. But AI doesn't care. Any thoughts on that?
As a Scrum Master who stood up and been shown the door for standing up, it's probably easier for management to not listen to AI than it is a real person. Somebody had to look me in the eye and say, hey, Cosgrove, shut up. You don't know what you're talking about. This is not how we do things here. And, I made the pet case the best I could, but, and, you make the case as best you can. And if you get told no, you kind of have to evaluate. Is this losing the battle or losing the war?
Yeah. I wonder if AI can have sort of like embedded in it and know when to press and not to press, and how to expose information. Oh, thank you, Gary. But it could be that if the companies are truly interested in transformation and getting good results, they may subscribe to those honest Scrum Masters, so they actually know what's going on. At some point in time, I was introduced to the so-called frozen middle. And the frozen middle, obviously kind of self-explanatory, where you have executives, leadership, and to be honest, in some cases, they do not know what happens in reality on the floor because there are so many layers of mid-management. And if those layers can be bypassed by the Gen AI solution and executives understood and learned what reality looks like, maybe they would act differently into different things. So what do you think about that? All right. AI about data. Yeah, data is a big thing. Magic middle. Yep. That's where the magic happens. It's not so bad. We're doing great.
Yeah, turns out people don't like being called the frozen middle.
Yes, of course. Of course they wouldn't. Yeah, very powerful. Okay, yeah, cool. So any other questions? Any other observations? So if you think about in some places, I hear that we've been at Agile journey for 10, 15 years. It's BAU now. We don't need Scrum Masters and coaches. We've completely transformed because everyone has been doing it and coached for an extended period of time. It's BAU. That's it. We're good. So that's probably another reason why we see some trends. Whether they achieve the results they expected, and maybe they didn't expect that much, and maybe they achieved those results. And as some executives always say, well, no one is perfect. Nothing is ever perfect. So continuous improvement. And we all know that it is part of Agile, right? Part of mindset. All right. So to kind of, I know we are at 7:18. Summarize it. We're at different stages of maturity in different companies. Some of them resisting and have multiple attempts at it. The term has been in place for a long time. The huge industry, multi-billion-dollar industry has been built around it. And when you scale up, it's like any product. And when you have a small shop and it's awesome, and you have a small restaurant that just started something, it's awesome. But as soon as they start scaling, it's all kinds of things pop up, right? Scaling business is hard. And unfortunately, if you scale and don't do a good job at it and the results are not there, you lose trust, right? People don't give multiple chances. If you trusted and invested and didn't get what you expected, what's the likelihood of trusting this thing again? Especially if the experience not that good. So there are those examples that driving where we are today as well. And some of the legacy large companies are also, as we can see, some of them are actually going out of business. And in a sense, it's a could be used a positive way, saying that, hey, those other companies, they didn't do diligence, they didn't invest in transformation. Do you want to be one of those? But then we have startups and younger companies, and do they need the skill set, and do they have those gaps that need to be fixed or bridged with agile ways of working? I would say yes, because a lot of it has to do with culture. And so even if we look at Amazon and other companies, even Apple, yeah, they are nimble, agile, but do they have behaviors of waterfall? Absolutely, tons. So I think rebranding and focusing on using agile to do whatever job we do, at least for me, that would be my focus. All right. Scaling a new chemical process doesn't go directly from the lab to production facility. Very good. Yes, that is actually very true. And to that extent, Fidelity Investments has this wonderful FCAT center where they do experiments, and only when they decide that it makes sense, they start scaling. So yeah, some companies actually have incubators to do just that. And someone recently published an article on LinkedIn about Walmart having the incubator, doing the digital transformation, and recently they closed it down. So wonder why. All right. Any other publications or any other observations, examples from where you are and what you see? By the way, just curious, in terms of the attendance, what role are you playing in Agile? Are you product owner, are you head coach, are you scrum master? What roles do you play? Yeah, a lot of companies doing that. A lot of coach, trainer, scrum master, developer. Right. So a lot of companies, yes, add on top of waterfall, and we call it a hybrid. We call it iterative, whatever companies call it. And the problem with that is the expectations of gaining value as if it was agile, but they're not leveraging the recipe of its success. And so that's partly the problem with where we are in terms of agile reputation in today's world. I like to use the example of, and I know it's dinner time for some of us, and people probably hungry, but if we think about, let's say, pizza, right? And if we want really good pizza, we need some cool ingredients, and we need to have great appliances to cook it, right? And toppings and all of that. And we know that in the end, we'll get the great crisp crust and wonderful pizza. So the outcome, the recipe, and the process all combined will give us what we expect. And if we don't have toppings, and if we don't have the ingredients, if it gets replaced with rice or potato and the boiling, will we get the result we expect? Probably not. But the expectations is already set. So anytime we start replacing successful recipe that has been experienced and practiced by many millions of people for an extended period of time, you can't expect the same result. And this is what's happening today when people use piece or element, but they expect the result as they were actually doing it and practicing it. So majority of Scrum Masters product manager, product owner, technical product owner. Actually, that's an interesting concept. Technical product owner versus a product owner and the product manager. I wonder, is it all the same or is it different? Are those different roles? Those the same?
Defined differently by different organizations.
But
They're
the same.
similar.
They're similar.
I don't want the
Okay.
technical person to be the product owner because I own the product. So you could be the technical product owner. I'll be the product owner.
Yeah, we haven't had any, I've never worked in an organization that had product owners who were not technical. But that's just
Yeah.
my experience.
Yeah. So it's interesting. And there are some organizations that employ business analysts to be the product owners. And what I found is the role of analyst, since I was business analyst and I was product owner, I can trust and compare from my own experience. So as an analyst, I'm really good at analyzing what exists today and capturing, explaining. But if anybody comes to me and says, what do you think the future would look like? Please envision a year, 3, 5 year down the road. Where would we take this product? How would we prioritize and build a roadmap? I would be completely lost because I don't know what the future I would like to envision. I can analyze what exists today. I'm a really good analytical person. And so when companies start pivoting and using BAs as product owners, because there's one word that's common between those two roles and requirements, that's where we get in trouble. And in terms of Damon, I agree with you. Technical product owner is not the same as on the business side product owner, because product owner is truly focused on the vision of the future. You want to take them to the market tomorrow. And you also need to be very conscious of how do you prioritize? How do you put this return on investment prioritization in place? Because you need to assess cost, potential cost, and you work with maybe technical product owner, your technology partners, but up to you prioritize those epics and use stories of features, put it on the roadmap. And you are kind of the conductor of the orchestra, if you will. A lot of times I see technology and technical product owners driving it because the business doesn't have time and they are so used to technology telling them what features they need and doing the busy work, so the business doesn't have patience or attention or capacity to do that, and that's when we get in trouble as well. I think we do need someone from the technology side to produce the roadmap of end of life, given the technology infrastructure or the language and the platforms. They probably also need to weigh in, because you don't want to be in this technical debt legacy nightmare many companies are in today. But you cannot replace product owner in business. It's as if you build a house and you ask your general contractor to do it for you. And they would decide the height of the ceilings, the color of the walls, the knobs in the kitchen, and all of that. Would you trust that? Or would you want to see your house that, probably costs millions of dollars to build every single week and see what it looks like and touch and feel and be owner of that? All right. Yeah, the architect, and in some places, they're architects, but when companies move to products and versus applications, and there is a difference, that they probably move into that technical product owner. Many companies call different names. All right. Any questions? I managed to talk for an hour. Wow.
And
With your
folks,
help.
as a couple folks have dropped, but just as we're going, you can, just a reminder, you can save off. There's a lot of great discussion, so you can save off the chat at any time. There's a little ellipsis, a little 3 dots, breadcrumbs. And you can do save chat. You can save it locally.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you for listening and participating and attending.
Yeah, I think that we need to have you come back and revisit this revisit this in 6 months or so, Natalie, and because it is something that I'm hearing people, and I've known some friends who have been, or have been coaching and are having difficulty right now finding new gigs in their pipeline. So and it's a sad thing to say, but we know, there's trends and there's ebbs and flows of different things. But I think as a community, and as what I want to offer in Agile New England is, sort of it's helpful to when we have a unified front of, okay, if we're gonna we're gonna use the term agile, like how are we defining that in today's business?
Yep. Yep. Very true. Very true. And hopefully next time I visit, it's gonna be like, oh wow, there's so much demand for agile experts. How do we solve that?
Yeah, AI has messed up our business. We need agilists to come in and fix it.
Exactly, exactly. Or AI is not working. Agile help.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we need to train our AI models to be agile. It'll be interesting to see um, how the bots have integrated the not world of agile knowledge into their artificial intelligence.
Well, since bots get trained by people, maybe that's another pivot for us, right?
Well, they don't get, I would put a clarification. They don't get trained by people. They just vacuum up everything that's on the floor, right? Garbage and wisdom and diamonds and pearls and bird
It
shit,
depends.
like they don't differentiate, right? Until they're asked the question, right?
No, I think it depends because there are nuances in that space. There are large language modeling and processing. There's simpler AI solutions, and in some cases, through prompts, there's this whole uh, a new profession, prompt engineer. So, and actually, the people who build those, they influence what they build and the character of that AI. And so, if we get engaged and involved, and maybe we can build AIs that help incentivize more collaborative culture, providing more collaborative, better answers and recommendations. And like Gen AI provides and creates content. And so it depends. It's not just they suck in the internet, it's also people who are overseeing them. There's no side too.
Yeah. Yeah. Who wants to start an AI company with me to have
Yeah.
fully agile AI bots? Yeah, you
Yeah.
can you can you can you
Yeah,
can DM me.
exactly. Yeah. We can be stewards of that.
Natalie, thanks so much. This was really engaging, and I want people to keep talking. But I got a couple. Can you see my slide? I got a couple.
Thanks for joining, Natalie. We really appreciated it. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
housekeeping points before people start dropping is if you want the PDUs, you know how to request them by now. Just drop it in the chat, your first name, last name, email, with a little PDU request in the chat right now. We're always looking for volunteers. So this is the place to go for any follow-up on tonight's discussion, job leads, job needs, and PDU requests if you didn't get them in the chat, or if you didn't see it come back from your email. Sign up here at Agile New Englanders plural.slack.com.
Maggie, could you reshare your screen? Stop sharing and then reshare it one more time.
Okay, let me try that. Hold on. Sorry if I wasn't sharing it right. Oh boy. Okay, it's minimized basically. Hold on. Yeah, no, I can't do anything. Zoom.
Oh, bother.
Zoom. I love you, Zoom.